kurang sulam Presidente Trabanga lo sabil ko ngit sel lontila committee na banking, insurance and other financial matters sa Senate. Lulingitra te al meeting el kora hearing el gire la ang resolution el asan ng mga committee niya House Joint Resolution 11-39-9S. May laro kung matang lisay del resolution niya wawol authorize execution a loan 20 million al sel Taiwan Megabang al may support activity ra Ndbp. Magi lungit ra meeting lo banggela anang labor the management hindi ka usel lo Isaac Masing umasindara labor da kurangani al sendir marsme mo dia kasi rungul board ang artyang ko ramle rungul la kamitin mo sorry discuss artial resolution lo bang kami direkal guk nga osingul kirela ay gel guk ngani policy ra tora alone especially sil management national debt ablir belaw ora do mule dik ko Isaac Mlase nga artial lo banggela ang committee adalah committee ti Senator ngartial meeting Senate President Paules niya adalah committee ding ngartia es President Senate direct lo oversee kal committee niya Senate direct ngartia nga Senator Inabo niya direct adalah committee Senator Joyce Alma Senator Tabalwati kay gida ko na sabiil labang gada al sales makmana asuli arbeklade direk al padamul ko ra wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving and National Family Day al week at ko ra umalara holiday season mang suadal ko ra makutmok lay kay gida ko ra pending el lurere ma da podo si sa holiday el guklo ka sa el guk enjoy teme do banter family se gide la kadasal el guk mal bring lap tru del gire lay kay gide maklol ngara alel ma direkal di bok recognize sa Vice President Senate direkal na joiner gide man Senator Mario ma se gide chairman na basically ngwal ko ra basic settle meeting gide. As we all know, tial resolution na OCC resolution resel ngimisel Direcal House Joint Resolution 11-27-6 ST1 el miligat mo back in April kada me pasara ay gal tablol bla direcal me pasara segi the resolution at the same time President Tamlo sabi el direct kami submit awal draft loan agreement sige the loan agreement lol bangkalabang mamlani igel wal kora proposal terms and conditions lol bangkel sige the draft agreement as we understanding mla mabrek akme del leimel buil since ada pa sa sige resolution lang tiakuk PS el resolution el mail direct el wal authorize osisil toy ending wal el boy the malubang revoke tos peratul me revoke or sell sige the resolution el da pasa ngira April ak madengel ak namis atial resolution ng ngani sel ST1 na Senate le wablel include a provision mo wabol 50% to say take the loan bol para supporter sel igel ligara housing under sel HTLP program di kadamanek masing ngoram la chen sa kondisyon ra makita direct lo sisulta meng dirga kamal report sa igi del HTLP program al mail ko ra oti siya singra malasing kantinulos pe anges malubendyak mang suadal mo ka ngiling kumda sa direct mle ko ra rungulela Senate kung sepol el direct nga niya some part at yagi del procedure ti alone mo support sa yagi del continued support sa yagi del program suadal mo mdangalaw dasu akrigol tamil sira ado akim review ti yagi sa yagi me ko resolution e kadam limit amle on tila Ndbp aklasem balsabiul di authorizer sel loan as is limla ka kora any condition attached to it and di segi dagi mul maula kami house senate ng mlorinya kora proposal al inclusion el more segi del liga magimlo include segi del HDLP given the fact that it's only resolution and ding cloud to tlel bol nga ni segi del understanding ergidra kosang la senetra o segi del aspectra tial loan ma tingul mo segi de chairman baik paskate almal sum sa me dim ko dim skida ko overview ko igel ko effort ma status tiagi del sen legot el resolution masing mlodia kal executor ngiling ma president mlodia kal executor ngiling segi del el ST1 a senate el silis bra al sel alu ngara amle uling kung masatial best resolution ng walwadi OCC ng selast without the tiagi del segi ko kumro HTLP
ungil tuta me gumul introducer radakal ngartiang ngaria Ralph Moses nga adra board ngaria Claire Harvey nga CEO President Trabang mga sel resolution na Claire Harvey milas di follow up pergi hindi ako dengel kumula sengaraw ulam ngorak man mew sekal askri legul sperngir mortal giral mon provider meditel al giral.
Okay, Claire, if you may, can you just give us up to date on the status of the loan and why the House, unfortunately, the House passed this resolution without any kind of legislative findings or facts behind their second resolution. So we don't really know what's the intent of the House repassing this resolution and voiding the earlier one. So can you give us a quick update on what's going on?
Tutal, everyone, thank you for inviting us here. As far as the 20 million, I can only give you the information that I know. So the first thing is we're waiting on the loan documentation to come from the government so that we can see the terms and conditions that are attached to this loan, such as how much we can draw down, when we can draw it, what fees there are depending on how much we draw. So that's where we're at with this. I can't give you any background on the House of Delegates and their reasons for resubmitting. My understanding is that the 10 million around the HDLP program it's not sustainable considering the interest rate that the bank is going to be charged on this 20 million. If we took all this money today, the interest rate would be 5.85% per annum. And it's based on SOFR, which is the interbank rate, which is rising. It's risen from about 2%. It's now at 4.65 and expected to go even higher. So that makes the HDLP program unsustainable without either the government taking over some of that debt or the government paying the bank for any subsidy or loss of interest. So I'm assuming that partly that's why I know that my understanding was that Minister of Finance and the President were not comfortable with the HDLP program being revised in its current format. But that's all I know at this stage.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. So, given the fact that the SOFR loan rate has gone up since April, does Ndbp still wish to pursue this loan at this level of the rate, the SOFR loan rate? And have you discussed with the minister and the executive branch as far as what would be the appropriate timing to execute this loan?
Very good question. Ndbp needs funding, and we're not thinking of taking the full $20 million in one drawdown. We would progressively draw down over, it could be a period of years. It could be 3 years, 5 years. A lot of it will depend on what happens in the economy in Palau and what happens with the recovery. However, we do need funds. One of the issues we've always had sometimes with funding is it can take up to 2 years from the time we start asking for funding from places like Megabank or ICDF in Taiwan before it's signed off. So my view is that we get approval for the 20 million, but we very judiciously draw it down because interest rates will come down. It's just, I don't have a crystal ball, so I can't tell you when interest rates are going to come down, but there is talk that they may come down a little bit 2023, moving into 2024. It depends on what governments want to do about halting inflation in other countries. So we would say yes. I'm hoping that within the terms and conditions there's the ability to cancel any amount at any time should we say we no longer require it. But we do require some funds.
Oh, thank you. Well, it's understood that you need additional funding to continue your loan program and other financial needs of the bank. However, with the condition of the market, we wanted to make sure that the loan that we're gonna get is not gonna be too expensive to keep the bank from maintaining its already high interest rate for your loan. So I think one of the goal of acquiring financing to help Ndbp is to see how we can maintain a low interest rate that is affordable to most of your customers who are, mostly low income and people who are really just in the beginning of starting their businesses. So
I think interest rates are always going to be a challenge. I think it's about drawing these funds down in smaller sums and keeping an eye on what's happening with interest rates. Of course, first-time homeowners is legislated by law at 8%, so that's not, irrespective of what happens with this interest rate, unless there's a law change, that's not going to change. It's currently at an interest rate of 5.85, the bank needs to have a margin so that they can keep reinvesting money back into the community and back into the economy. So it may be difficult over a period of time to keep some of our low interest rates, the smaller loans, at 6%. My commitment is to keep those rates as low as I can for as long as possible, until such time as if the interest rate continues to rise, it's really not possible to change. The main thing with most of our loans is that those rates are locked in for the term of the loan. So if you've got a housing loan at 8%, or sorry, a small microfinance loan at 10,000, for 5 years, that rate's locked in for 5 years. So with the interest rates going up and down, it actually ends up probably being quite good for our customers. I have talked to Minister of Finance about the drawdowns, and we have really waited until we've seen what we can do with these funds before we kind of planned our drawdowns out. But I'm not expecting to draw the full 20 million or even half of the 20 million within the next 12 months. But it would be good for us to be able to know that it's there and we can draw it if necessary.
Chairman, another aspect that the loan so the direct ngulmeral the suela committee board ma direct already committee la senate banking direct lo mesringia kami amdinga sila albi kalulam na pasrala al Fiscal Responsibility and Debt Management Act sel seguir la direct makata-click na sing girela president ma leadership mo start al walwara mga drawer sel tele la manage dudela blue belaw direct ay gigil mobile sel blue bela direct morning agora president ay gigil mo rule agora a plan other silmer olvida alwak na setiagi da uspengi tetele la boda manage belsel blue bela since seguida bola sella kadamla direct in addition to this loan belam na loan med el dartel million Ndbp PIDB Asian Development ADB ikamal betokol ko mang sual direct ko ang ngata me na mita presidente pato ko kaudingit masing tial additional 20 million el dulu tul malangil ma it's gonna add up al mora sel sela ka blue belaw magarabo to manage in a way that we continue to comply with the principles ma parameters al sel seguir el Fiscal Responsibility and Debt Management Act o sisultaming kada assure leadership ma abelak masegal belsedel sel continue mangat o sisultaming kada finance ay nidra government sige di lang ako ra mga to singela committee lo mesel girel leng hindi ako din klase kom la discuss ngi ma ministerio kom la ora discuss ngi klase tial lo na dungur elang yang magarawo manage ngi gami ada Ndbp how it's going to impact the overall position na government ra belsela blue belaw we're expecting you to understand plan already, so I hope you were able to catch a little bit of that.
I've been here 7 years. One of the things that over the 7 years I've been here and worked with this board is that we are incredibly fiscally responsible. We have managed through the last 2 or 3 years with COVID, which has hit the bank. I would suspect that this year, the end of 2022, our financials will look low because we've got so many customers who are non-accruing or loans in arrears. As far as the National Government Debt Management Act, one, I have to admit, one, I haven't seen it, and two, nobody said anything to us about managing these funds. But one of the things I do want to probably repeat is with the interest rates as they are, there is absolutely no way we would draw more than we need, because that would be to borrow 10 million or to take 10 million when you're only going to spend 2, puts us in a negative position as far as making loan repayments. My understanding about the loan repayments for most of the loans that come out of Taiwan are that their interest, there's a grace period, so their interest only generally for the first 3 to 5 years. So that reduces some of the fiscal burden on the bank to make principal and interest payments. Hoping by then, if the economists are right, the economy is starting to turn around and we're starting to see some further growth in the bank. I think also part of this is being very cautious and making sure that we're lending to customers to succeed. I've always had a philosophy that no one ever walked into a bank and said, "Let me shake your hand, thank you for helping me fail." So it is about making sure that the customers that we are lending to will succeed. So that would say then we can project potentially how much funds we're going to need over a 12-month period. So the interesting thing for us now is that we've exhausted all the funds, pretty much all the funds that we've borrowed. So the ICDF program, the 5 million, that's all spent. The ROP loan, which is an old loan about to be repaid, that's gone. Part of this loan, we're looking at how we can help SS by paying down the loan we have to SS, even though it's cheaper. The SS loan is a lot cheaper than what we would likely to be charged, but we think that we have a responsibility to help them out as well.
I'm going to yield the floor to Senator Isal for his question.
Mr. Moses. My question first is going to be on some of the statements that you have made. So, first question is, the resolution states that Ndbp and ROP should execute the loan agreement, and then Ndbp will sign the loan. The word is, let me read it. It's a resolution, Land 13 to Land 15, on page 1 of this resolution. It says, whereas for the reasons stated herein, the Albirago through this joint resolution expresses its approval of the execution of Ndbp loan and any related promissory note by the President of the Republic or his designee. So my question is, you have not seen or signed the promissory note?
Correct.
Okay. Your understanding, talking to Minister of Finance, is when will that promissory note be executed and signed?
My understanding is the AG has reviewed the loan documents, and they're now back with Minister of Finance just to review some minor changes that the AG has suggested. And once that's done, it will then, our government then does a subsidiary loan agreement, which is on exactly the same terms between the ROP and Ndbp. So we repay the loan back to the government and they pay it back to Taiwan.
So, related question to the related issue. So, what does Ndbp's position is? Would you rather wait for that AG's work to be done and also wait for the OEK adoption of or the passage of this resolution before the board decide to sign, to execute this agreement with ROP? Part of that, when you receive the word that this has been approved and the AG has reviewed it, before you vote to execute the loan agreement, are you still going to ask your legal counsel to review it?
Yes, definitely. because I want to make sure that there aren't any clauses in there that could cause NDBP some financial bother. So it goes to, a copy will go to the board and a copy will go to our legal counsel to review it. Generally, these documents, because we've dealt with Megabank before, they're generally pretty much the same document for every loan that these big funders put out. We just want to double check, because my main concern is any excessive fees on Megabank holding the funds until such time as we draw them down.
Now, last question for this time. You mentioned that you find it impossible or not right thing to do if this, provided this loan is approved, to withdraw over 10 million or so because of the interest rate. Now, my question is, assuming that everything goes through in the next week or so, how much would you recommend, knowing pending loan application at the bank, knowing pending application for new home loan, assuming that this goes through like the way it is, the rate state, that the rate that the loan is at 5 whatever % plus whatever, and if you were to get, say, part of that loan to finance home, how much or how are you going to approach, or what approach you're going to take to decide what rate the bank would charge the customer if we get this loan at this time, at this rate?
At this stage, first-time homeowners would still be at our current rate. First-time homeowners would remain at our current rate. That's 8%. Yeah, and that's legislated in the law. Second-time homeowners, at the moment I would be looking to try and not move second-time homeowners or commercial loan rates much at all. I think that we can probably live with 10%, because if the interest rate's below 6%, I think we could live with that for a little bit. If the interest rate starts to go up above 6%, then I think we would have to look at the interest rate we're going to charge. The problem interest rate for us is going to be our microfinance loans at 6%.
If someone comes today under the circumstances that I just mentioned, and someone come and borrow $60,000 for a home, and you're going to charge them, first-time homeowner, 8%. How many years term is that loan going to be at 8%, and what's the approximate monthly payment at 8%?
The term of the loan is 20 years, although we can go up to 25 years if someone's income is struggling, and I can work out the payment amount. The monthly repayment is $501.86. Yep. $579.01.
Now, thank you very much for the information. A typical Palawan, middle-aged income Palawans, will not be able to afford that. And I'm saying somebody, a family of a husband and wife making $30,000 a year between the two of them, or maybe even 40 between the couple, will be struggling to make those payments at 8%, and also much more harder for them to make the payment of $500 at 10%. acting usual more seguide, el meskita perspective ra impact ra interest rate. Eleng, we try to do good for Palawan people, but sometimes we modal will afford it. They won't be able to afford it. Okay, my last question is this. Do we have any information on the pending housing loan and how much that pending application total?
As far as the pending housing loans, I don't have that information on me at the moment. I was just going to see if I could give you an example of a housing loan that I've currently got for approval. I just need to have a quick read of some documents. I have a loan in front of me, which will go to board next week. It's a young couple looking to build a house. The cost of the home is the project cost, including some debt consolidation, is around $116,000. The loan, it's a first-time homeowner's loan at part of it is at 6%, part of it's at 8%, and the debt servicing ratio is within the bank guidelines of up to 40%. And this is a young couple who are earning, I think, $30,000 between them. So one of the things we do find is a large number of our customers require joint, sometimes other family members to help them service their debt.
Now I'm going to use myself in this example, and this I want for the record, and hopefully this will be shown on TV. I'm making $50,000. I got a Ndbp loan of $85,000 2 years ago. Not a first-time homeowner, and I pay $586 bi-weekly, and I'm struggling. Now that's a picture for someone who's making 50. That's why I gave you those figures of couple making income of 25 or 30, because again, you do consolidation, which is good, but there's still financial obligation of a typical family. And that's very interesting for someone to be $30,000 income between the couple and in debt for $100,000 for 25 years. That's almost lifetime. We need to educate our people to be a smart borrower, and we need to work as a bank to make it as easy. I don't see why when a bank is holding a real estate, real property as a collateral, we stuck at 25 years term. Why not go 30 years? When someone default in Palau, there's nowhere to run. He can run to California or LA, but the land and the house still stays in Palau. The bank is guaranteed to get its money back through dedication or whatever. So I'm just sharing this with you. I don't expect an answer because it's hard to answer and get the right answer. But I want the picture to be painted clearly for the people of Palau so they can plan their finances. And asking you guys to be considering possible extension of terms, because that terms extended will put the monthly payment down. Even though a customer will pay more interest along the way, that person could sell the home between date of the loan and 30 years, 35-year term, based on the equity, and he might buy the home at 100. After 10 years, it's worth 150. He pay you guys 100, then take 50 home as an equity. So that's my statement, Chairman.
I can thank you for that, and I can answer part of that question. For any customer that is finding that they're under financial hardship, we ask that they come and talk to us, because there is always a solution. So for some customers, after 5 years of paying their housing loan, someone may have lost a job, or their circumstances may have changed. Yeah, COVID. So when they come and talk to us, there are a variety of options we have. Some are putting them on interest only for a period of time until they get themselves on their feet. Some are restructuring the loan back up to the original term. So I would say to anyone listening to this or watching this, if you are struggling financially, come and talk to us, because we have a raft of measures that we can put in place to assist people. The last thing we ever want to do as a bank is repossess people's homes. You know, that is really a last resort. We've tried everything first before we would even do that. So just please encourage people to come and talk to my staff. You know, there are always options available to help people out. Our end result is we would rather see our loan repaid, even if it takes slightly longer, than end up with a debt that we're trying to chase a family out of a home, off their land. You know, we don't want to do that.
Claire, that's my point. That's why I ask for extension of terms, because not me is going to live to see that 25-year loan. It's going to be new people at the bank, it's going to be new people at the Senate. 25 years is a long time. So that's my main point. You make the loan now, don't expect it to be paid off during your tenure as the president of the bank. You have to look further, and then there are going to be other future member of the board and the future president of the bank. That's exactly the point I'll make. Don't try to fix the problem 30 years from today. Fix the problem now, and then let things take care of themselves going forward. Sulang.
Sila, Senator Isal, Chairman seguida, agora, it's not so much of a sentiment, ending agora, adi, de suela genetic, maseme, dolumol, lo pa seguir el uldasot, maseda, kadolong serar ad, kadabang kalolong serar ad, mada, dolas mulmora el kurubabel sa el provide el role options available at your disposal. El lolong serar ad, and at the same time, baka naman na sing protect ra kabaramlan ra bang mandial el bol collapse malibel bukpol nga niya ngal sang ser ang another time. And ultimately tial Ndbp abang ra blue below bangger other below el mokte niya ol nga ser uplift adalang clear adama aklangar tiren mo o sabiil guk mita yel cost ra klangar tirma cost of living ma yel guk expectation or tir improve so thank you Claire for continuing to make those options available and explore new ways in which we can help the Palawan people who are in need of financial assistance and I think that's the expectation of the bank, the public toward the bank is to provide all kinds of options available that will help them with any financing need that they might have. Masate al Senator Inabo, o kaya question.
Okay, so looking at the original resolution that approved this $20 million loan, the original resolution did not have the provision for housing program. The Senate added that provision to say that half of the $20 million will be going to the housing development loan program. So we're looking at the SOFR 6-month term, right? That's the rate that applies to this loan, and it's around 4.8% plus the 1.2%, that's the term of this loan agreement. It says interest rate is term SOFR plus 1.2% a year. So in that instance, it puts the rate that you're going to be paying for this loan at 5.8% or something like that. So it's pretty close to 6%. So your request is for the Senate to remove for the Congress to remove the requirement for 10 million to go to HTLP. Is that correct? Why say? Because it's not affordable. You'll be losing money if you loan this money to the HTLP loan program. However, you heard the chairman and Senator Isal voice our concern for the people who cannot afford housing at 8%. People really struggle, and sometimes because their situation changes, maybe somebody gets sick, maybe they lose some of their income, then the house is not an asset that they can afford anymore. So our concern is that's our number one concern. Our number two concern is economic recovery for Palau right now. We have a lot of small businesses that cannot pay their loans. I looked at your financial report and you increased provision for your loan losses, anticipating that some of these loans will not be collectible. So, but our number one concern should be putting money into the economy right now so we can have some economic activities, and then we keep the economy going while we're trying to get out of this economic crisis, pandemic economic crisis. Director Ralph was with us as 8 puffs. We saw them predict next year we're going to have recession. And the interest rate is going to go up again, and probably again before they stop it, or because they have to tame the inflation that's really high right now. So looking at all these issues, what are you going to do with this loan? Because it seems like the interest rate is not attractive for the bank to draw down this loan. At the same time, you're telling us you don't have money to do anything. So what can we ask the bank to do? Or what can you do? Or do we just not have this loan because it's not affordable?
You raise very valid points. Interest rates are a worry at the moment, and interest rates are rising. And there is an option, and I have mentioned this to Minister of Finance, which is to try and cap the interest rate on this loan, so it can only rise up to a certain point. The options for this are always. The uses were always going to be money was going to be put aside for housing. There was always going to be funds for housing. We also wanted to put some money aside for commercial. We wanted to expand on look at some new products. For instance, vehicle leasing, pricing for risk. One of the issues we have with some of our contractors is their inability to get bonding, because they don't have sufficient security. So I was looking at finding a way to have a product where we can have an insurance for bonding. Interestingly, at the moment, the amount of lending we're doing is slowing considerably. Our customers are saying it's not the interest rate so much that they're concerned about, it's the cost of living going up. So if you go into the store, and I can quote the one thing I can remember, You know, I used to buy my bags of dog food for $4.50. Now I pay nearly $9. So that's a 100% increase. So people are not necessarily not borrowing because of interest rates. They're not borrowing because their wages and salaries are not buying, or they're not able to spend as much as they have in the past. So I think the increased cost of living doesn't help. I want to work as we move into the future on housing. We did and I haven't got the figures with me, but we did a bit of a survey on what's happened with the cost of construction. And a $80,000 house 5 years ago, 3 years ago, is now probably over 100,000, maybe nearly close to 120,000. So that impacts the amount of funds people can borrow. So that's one reason I think that that's slowing down. As a bank, we've performed, thanks to the board, exceptionally well up until probably the last 12 months, where our non-performing loans have risen from about 3% of our portfolio to 15%, and I suspect they'll rise closer to maybe 20% by the end of this year, because we're putting a lot of our loans onto non-accrual because of the extension of the recovery. We're still working on, one of the other things I wanted to work on as part of this program was having some sort of mentoring system in place that could mentor small businesses. Because a lot of the small business customers that come in to borrow from us, the source of repayment is not necessarily the small business, it's their income, whether it's from the government or through their SS or pension. So we wanted to find a way to encourage small businesses to be able to be sustainable and grow as well. And I think the businesses that we've seen over the last 12 months that have come through COVID reasonably well are those that have changed the way they do business. For example, one of our customers never advertised on Facebook. Now they advertise on Facebook that they make a certain pie, and she was telling me the minute she advertised on Facebook, it's sold out within 2 hours. So people have changed the way they look at their business and changed the way they do business, and I want to keep encouraging that. There are businesses that we have that are absolutely struggling, and there are some businesses who may not survive the next 2 years. No matter what we do at the moment, we've got a lot of them, they're not paying any payments on their loan, their interest isn't accruing on their loan, it's set at a set amount, and some of those businesses may not recover. And I think that that's something we need to think about. It's just going to be a fact of life. That you can't keep doing the same thing and expect the same results. But I'd like to think that one of the things I think I meant to mention to you, both senators, is the new solar program is having a positive impact for most 90% of our customers that are taking the solar are making considerable savings. I'm aware some people's power bill has gone down to $5 from $300. And even when they pay the loan, which is at concessional interest rates over a long period of time, if their bill goes from $300, when they pay the loan off, it's about $100, I think, they're still saving $200. Some may only save $50. But that's certainly impacting on people's pockets, and it's giving people more spending power. We just need to encourage more people to come in and apply for these solar panels.
You have not answered my questions. My question was, what can you do to make sure there's economic recovery? What can you do to continue affordable housing? And whether you want this loan or not. since it's too expensive, should we not consider taking this loan? Those were my questions.
As far as economic recovery, we need to look at additional services that businesses can provide. So additional business other than some of the stock standard businesses that we tend to see come across our desk, some new ideas. So that's one thing. I think we need to be very careful about our interest rates because if we push interest rates too high, it's going to slow down economic recovery as well. So we need to be very cautious about raising interest rates. I think encouraging businesses, I'd like to try and encourage businesses and encourage job opportunities. The solar program, they've taken on 12 Palauans and trained them in solar installation. There's another potential grant coming in that space, which may well require more people to come on board. So I think there's opportunities there to increase job opportunities and employment. Your second point, housing. One of the things I'm working on is with one of our customers, is trying to bring in some cheaper not fabricated, pre-built homes to lower the cost of housing. And with housing, it's quantity. The more you build at the same time, then the price comes down. But the price of concrete homes has really escalated a lot. One of my caution around housing is making sure that we don't end up in the same situation with cheap housing as we ended up in Airai with Qingdao homes that basically needed to be demolished and rebuilt. So it's about getting a reasonable quantity of houses that we can build. For low-income people, we're certainly talking to them and talking to them about going to see Palau housing. Yeah. So, and I certainly agree with you that the cost of this loan is concerning. We do need some funding. I would pick that probably within the next 12 months, we may need up to 5 million. It depends on whether we've still got our customers who are still reluctant to borrow. The other thing that we're finding out with a lot of our customers is we give them a loan, we refinance their debt with other institutions, and within a month they've gone back to those institutions and they're borrowed back up to the max again. Did I answer your questions?
Okay, so you were saying you need 5 million, but I can see in your financial report that your Megabank loan for women and is not fully drawn down. You have like what? How much have you drawn down on that? That was 5 million, and you have you have used like 1.5 million, something like that, and then you have the Taiwan ICDF loan. Which is also 5 million, and it seems like you draw down 3 million. So you still have some money from those two loans that you have not used.
The ICDF loan, those are our 2021 financials. So the ICDF loan is now fully drawn down and fully lent. The Megabank loan is restricted solely to agriculture, and we're wanting to work with Minister Victor, to target, the farming sector and the aquaculture sector. So that's restricted funds solely for agriculture and aquaculture.
Okay, so you're saying you only need 5 million for the next 2 years? For what? What are you needing it for?
I'm picking that I think we'll probably need, for around the next 6 months, 6 to 12 months, predominantly to cover some housing and some commercial loans. I just haven't got the prospective customers for housing numbers with me.
But the housing is for the the first-time homeowners, and that's 8% and 10%. You don't want to do the HDLP anymore.
It's not that I don't want to do the HDLP. It's that if we borrow money at nearly 6% and we're lending it out at 1%, I don't want to come cap in hand to the OEK saying, I need you to cover the interest or I need you to repay this part of the loan. So that's the issue, is the HDLP loan program is not economically viable for the bank. It would put the bank in a loss situation.
And you were talking about the risk-adjusted interest rate. Would that apply to housing? Would you consider mortgage rates that's almost like the rates in the U.S.? You know, they're borrowing it as OFR and relending it at like 6.8% right now. If it goes down, it goes down. Will that be a new? Can we consider that, or is that off the table?
Oh, I've always wanted to do a variable rate. The issue we have with variable rates is helping people understand that when interest rates go up, your loan payments go up. So overall, if we looked at interest rates over, say, a 20-year time frame, we're probably going to find that the majority of our customers are actually better off on that fixed rate, but we could offer either or, variable rate and fixed rate loans. The only issue we have is with the first-time homeowners, which by law is mandated at 8%.
I think the law put it at 8% because it was 10%. But I think we can change the law so you can offer risk-adjusted returns, especially if you have a mortgage that's really good property that your risk is really low. So you haven't. So what's your suggestion? You still want the $20 million loan?
My suggestion is that we, once we've seen the loan docs, the terms and conditions of this loan, I think that we should go ahead with the $20 million. For me, it's the length of time it takes the bank to secure funding, and sometimes it means, because it takes so long, it means we can't often react quickly to what's happening in Palau. We were lucky to Surigay. When that happened, we reacted very quickly. We said, here's $2,000, everyone can come in, we're not doing any credit checks, come in, get a loan. In the last tropical storm, we did the same thing. We've got a tropical storm loan now that people can come and apply and get very quickly. Without surety of funding, it makes it very hard to make decisions. So my view, the bank's view, is approve the $20 million. Let's look at the terms and conditions that come out from the government, because there's bound to be, I know with the last megabank loan, I think there was a cancellation clause. There's minimal penalty if you don't use the full $20 million, but it's there. And it's certainly, where I think it's going to really be needed is in 2024, 2025, when tourists start to come back, and we're hoping that the economy starts to improve. I know some of our customers are going to need funding to get their businesses started back up again.
Okay, let's have the President of the Senate raise his question. He's going to leave.
Yeah, I have to leave, so let me just ask you some. The way I listen to you and these senators talking about this, there's no way we can help the low-income people. And our intention is to help the low-income people. That's why we have to find a loan to come and then help the low-income. But the way it is, there's no way we can help. Because I guarantee you, even these people who have got a loan, we say they're paying very low interest. Many of them are still suffering to pay because you are in the bank, so you know them. Some of them default because of the earning. You say, and the cost of living and the inflation and everything are up now, so they're suffering. And then we are trying to ask you to help us to lower the interest. But the way it is, it doesn't come down. Unless you have a solution to do it. And you are in the bank, we depend on you. Okay, the 20 million, you are interested in 5 million of the 20 million. So you get yours. I'm thinking a lot of people will have hard time to get the loan. So you will extend it for, while you have the money and you already get 5 million, you already fix your bank, so it's moving good, but people are suffering. There's no way the recovery will be done in 1 or 2 years. No way. The way it is now, we can see it. We live in Palau, so we know how the economic is. The fuel increase, the price of the food, even PGST tax is not working now, but inflation is way, way up beyond the ability of the local people to pay it. So we're asking you to help. Now, let's say I'm talking about after you get the money. And this is my request. After you get the money, you get 5 million. Can you set aside 1 million of that to help small business? Because there are a lot of Palawan who own a small business, but they've been struggling and yet they try to survive for 2 years already. The government doesn't help the small business. The first help when they come, you gave it without really screening who are going to get the loan and what. And many of the business that you help on tourist industry, they took the loan and they were not the local people. They are foreigner. So what I'm asking, after you got the loan, if you get it, please 1 million of that 15 million because you already have 1 million of that 15 million, Chairman, please set aside to help the small business in Palau who are struggling now. That's my request to
I
you.
understand that your answer na raw. Himawdo laban trira question at rapport la address tilan issue.
Chairman, hindi kal concern tayo the loan hindi ko adi nakalisod mo mga daru sa sel nombre kal loan sel 15 million lulmiring ng housing igel mnora sel guk mnora development pang mnok nung elang rang ewang ara tur mring tigat akmatila se da real loan 1% interest ring tigel ngario ra 60 digel ngarba ra 60 amno semno ra 6% ng 8% may gigida dire kal sa mo nila sa segi del loan ng wangarak lungela amno development bank e wangarat tretele la payment ringi compare mera government talu compare direct mora tegi del bank orang dia compare ngi kom di collect taigel payment ma interest tegi di sad mam lira wira aku bertel imralon sula.
Thank you for the question about HDLP. We got approximately $9 million under the HDLP program. It's all our entire housing portfolio, whether it's HDLP or other, is all performing really well. We don't have much in the way of bad debts. It's the commercial side that is causing us more concern. Yeah. So that we got the 9 million. Now, no, we're not having to pay back that. The government took on the full debt. So there was 9 million to us and the balance went to Palau Housing. And due to the interest rate differential, the government then took on the full debt. And any repayment funds are coming back into the bank as general funds.
Okay. Da seguida din sa on dalit chairman ling. Kung seguida sa on dalit was MCO abil free money le korabanga. May legal payment ma interest nga dia korabanga. Dia ko peringil mo government palul portal mabang. Di sa on dalit seguida.
Okay.
Sorry.
Can we ask you to separate that in the financial report? In the financial report, you have one housing loan. We want the HDLP program separate so we can see the repayments, the interest, and keep that a separate program. So if we want to request the bank to reloan that as an HDLP program, and I think the resolution was like that. You're supposed to keep that money separate and continue the HDLP program. So we want to see you lump it all into one housing loan and we don't see the HDLP program separate.
I'm happy to do that. I think one thing to bear in mind is that the HDLP program's only just started. We're getting the interest comes direct to the bank. The principal payments can go back into the fund. So we're probably collecting about 20,000 or 30,000 at the moment.
Chairman, din sa algorithm sa gidle la kadungora tel Palau housing se wal ko ramnon mo dia kay ludo dul morngi mo di blo la ba gidel payment tel moragel tel okya kartir el megu ko dage uk mutul loan out tel morar adma wal ko amne grending mirael ndira kal sadam sa gidel sel gorngia ina bor la dira kal bolso la uril ta dul wasem kadam grado urur tel housing program kuk ngara under tila elakom lang 9 million mo ngul starter ngi ya sel awal gora neseta interest del gumia malaringi dira kal bolso lo mesa sem ela ge repayment le gora bang magaray ngara gora plan gumil del mutul ngul mora tel housing program seguida dira kal sad mam ngali mal sumo ma uspang to uspang ngi dira kal makumara la sen awngil dol mol chairman dira kal adul gel tegi del kadgora igel mle dasra earlier ulum dasase Irete development bank mga siobaya housing alangara atel pala housing. Hindi wal ko na sama nga niya udo tilo del mora development bank wal blolo rural housing. El mon mot tegi del udo del nego wal bilingi mga niya mora housing mam mora development bank. Mendiri kal sa development bank rukulia program ng gel housing ngar tegi del wal ko ra sebelol ngosora tirgal gukma ada belul tira wal gora tergiben meringar tira malalon mom gotora blirir segi dia tira kal chad mam dali bodo dali asel ku kwal wa klunga la return ngi la tegi del digado ngela se mangwa ngara igel plan rabak ngal ku klon out ngi matelal blara tal ngara tela return ko tara am telas bedu multil mo bebira mara vesel blaim segi dia chad mam dali on to gere segi del tal vesel lona tegi del wal gora mal meringa la interest ngi mendirakal kaya dan mau ngil ada dur ngi dirakal ngil dong dur minister ma president lo sekrel sebel guk reli meduk ma tedo ngi sel tedo lakado kami terngi berem sel kora guk mero interest guk bodo sebel mot moral sel leng maran bering la interest also mengara 5.85 Meringan medel yak manilo sa bang kam latal lungwa udodra social security ne ngala 6 and 7% ta interest ring ilul mem no spe ring my project ding adim la ka kora limit lo asin sebela bangal na sebela bangal buk ma interest in trip morba bertigel nelor segi de ludo dum digira el asadro no se trigal adal tira wal kora magigare ring el sorry lom ko ora blay segi asadal mam dalil sel guk program ngum Bora kamal hindi ko na sige dal awngil do podru tringileng. Kung pilo 9 million em langul mo ra project to sel payment tringing kadam gara wuk maltil mutul mo sa mo sa program. Al sum sa pedro ko mutul adul la interest tringin asa pedro legal. Modelo sa bang ang regel guk operating expense ringil adiregal mural sila kay gidam. Ay gida adiregal. Gida chairman di sokal mung ang adiregal amum sugaman.
Okay, aging nanoter til al concerner ka, direct nanoter sel concerner Senator Inabo, ligire la different financial statement ligire say.
Oh, Chairman, kung nasa tiya guk ay gagawin questionable raise sa Vice President inabol girela to kara HTLP program. Das may reklil mo different discussion. Agi mo lingi trate al lagi kupo demitel separately girel sa el particular program. Len cloud tutel el bodong basic blessing aram longal sa ngasel mga igel gukra mleve telentingil el wal really mo wal appear el wal unsustainable. Mang suadal modong okle merko kada sira igel guk experience kami kami ti guk masa el sira igel guk lomdas kada Melita egal uldasun mol tigra o sigir sel mo ral el bodog yung sa el ider kada mal martial program mal kada improve ringil mo kora asa el continue lol ngasora seguida kada disisuada duli glutel odak mekma ulam sa isal ngani ako di follow up ringil.
My follow up is on the statement made by Senator Paules before he left, how can we help, and of course, Senator Inabo. So, it's clear that the first 15 million you're not going to pay because of the MOU that was done between the executive branch and AIDS Housing Development Loan Program. Were you part of that MOU? Okay, so it was you, executive branch, through Minister of Finance then, and HO Housing Development Loan Program, right?
That change was with Minister of Finance and Minister of Clyde Chiltern, and also the Housing Commission, Palau Housing and Ndbp. Yep.
So let's assume that the President and the Minister of Finance and the OEK agreed to do the same thing with the next 20 million. Can you stick at the lower rate like you did with the first 15? And if you do, we should be below 8?
If the President said we'll take $10 million from this 20 million and we'll repay the loan, we could certainly look at the rates. I think the 1% loan was too low, and I think the 1% loan didn't necessarily go where the Housing Commission thought that it would go to. It tended to go to people with higher incomes than the low income people. The one thing that really was they were within the income bracket. We met every single rule from the HDLP program, but it tended to look at those that were a bit higher because a lot of our customers needed debt consolidation, and then a lot of them wanted the 10,000 subsidy, and the 10,000 subsidy is also not sustainable because for us as a bank to give away $10,000. We have to get some return so that we can keep the bank running and grow. But if the government is persuaded to take over the debt and repay the debt, there's no reason why we couldn't look at an HDL program, maybe change slightly from what it is now. I think it needs some
Or
amendment.
perhaps classify who are low income and give them the lower rate, and then for, say, somebody like the senator or delegate or minister who make $50,000, pay the going rate. You know, that's exactly why we're supposed to help the poor. You know, the rich pay the heavy load, just like in taxes, and the poor pay. Okay, my question is that first 15. What's your administrative cost that you charge the borrower?
There is no administrative cost. It's built in within our interest rate, within the interest rate. So we're covering all the administrative costs ourselves.
Oh, okay. So, sige the chairman ako may assume si elagablemental lulia o si siul tokoy chairman rabor de kama member Moses ngutial repayment el mutu mera national government. And maybe ang mga skema liway makom terrible improve instead of Claire mentioned some new products. I think that's far too fetched as far as I'm concerned. This thing automobile and stuff. Those are when we have a good economy in the country. We look at the products and new products. Let's stick with housing and commercial loan. Our primary and women loan for whatever fisheries, aquaculture. Let's not go to the next level of new product like auto leasing until we initiate implement the law relating to Ndbp to accept deposit. That will be a source of funding for that. But to borrow money for housing and then government said, oh, we have excess cash to revenue to do new products. It's not time at this economic situation to even consider adding more products to your portfolio when indeed we have issues with low first-time homeowner and commercial loan people. So that's just my personal opinion. I ask you to consider going forward. Di kaya kita aswakal mo at the end of the day, this new loan is national government responsibility. There's a clause here in this resolution that we waive the sovereign immunity. See what I say? That means the national government is still responsible. So we have the full faith credit given to the bank on your behalf and the people of Palau. So you guys should be really happy and be free and be lenient and be considerate as far as this interest rate for the low income. I don't see a reason why somebody like me should be paying the same interest, low interest, like the guy who's making $30,000 between two couples. I should pay more. And then those low income people should pay less in terms of interest rate.
So based on what I said about how to keep the economy going and, putting money in the economy, we wanted to be able to continue the housing program, the HDLP. But based on what Senator Isal is saying, if we want to continue the HDLP program, then we probably have to ask the government to take over this loan and repay the principal like the current HDLP program. So that's what he's saying. But we're giving you free capital, so what the bank is getting is both the capital and the interest, And even if the interest is 1%, and it's providing affordable housing, we might have to change the HTLP law so we do not offer 1%, but probably something that's risk-adjusted return, since and that's will be providing you free capital to offer continue the housing program. But we are also interested in some economic assistance to the small businesses and the people who are unable to pay their loan. What we also, in addition to what was requested by the Senate President, we are asking for Ndbp to maybe completely write off interest and penalties that been charged during the pandemic period, and rewrite some of these loans so these people can come out of debt and start having some activities, business activities. Because what we're concerned with is if they have too much debt and the interest and the penalties are added to their principal, so they have higher debts to pay, then they will never pay off their debt, and maybe most of the small businesses will be discouraged from having to run a business, and then that's more opportunity for outsiders to come and have businesses here. So we want your suggestions on how to help the small businesses recover from the pandemic. And I think Chairman Aldabel has more to say on that, but that's what we want to put in this resolution. And with all of that, we're also asking whether we need to revoke the last resolution instead of just amending it a little bit. You know, we're just putting in small language to say that the portion going to HTLP will be loan for the Republic of Palau, and then for the bank to use this rest of this loan to finance economic recovery. In with those requests that we have been, like concessionary loan to small businesses so they can start new businesses or refinance a new business, and to also loan forgiveness for the interest and the penalties during the pandemic period. So I think that's what we would like to see in this resolution.
For loan forgiveness, we'd have to have a look and calculate how much interest that would be and how Ndbp recovers that interest, because that would put us in a loss situation. We have already helped, we're already helping small business. They can already access low-cost loan at 6% to help them. We're giving them payment holidays. We're giving them interest only. Most of our customers are choosing to cover interest. And for those that are really struggling, we're putting them onto non-accrual. So that means the interest accruing on the loan stops at a certain point and it doesn't continue to accrue. So the idea is that at some stage, we'll help these people. When the tourism sector starts to turn around, we would definitely be looking at restructuring a lot of these loans. The only issue I have is around what the cost to write off debtors and what that would mean for the bank from a loss perspective. And I think the other thing is who's eligible. Like we have some, not just small businesses, but we have some large customers who have borrowed a significant amount who are struggling. So we're continually reviewing our portfolio. We increased our provisioning to cover for losses, so because we knew that would happen. But I think needs to be kept in mind what would be the overall cost to the bank, and would that mean that the government has to come up with some way of supporting the bank if it gets into a negative position?
So basically, you're already looking into that aspect of trying to offer an option for these struggling borrowers who are trying to make ends meet, at the same time keep up with their loan payment. We talked to a few of them, and one of the requests, they're not necessarily asking for their loan to be forgiven, but to be offer some sort of a break in the interest payments. They said that you were able to allow them to stop paying the interest, but they also said that the interest continue to incur over time, over the period that they're not paying. So it winds up that, you know, the total interest that they have to pay basically exceeds the principal amount that they borrow. So if those options can be reassessed or reevaluated by the board and the management, and maybe you can communicate. I know not everybody are having this problem. So if you can establish some sort of criteria for people to qualify, not everybody, because I know there's some businesses are doing well, and some are really struggling, especially those ones that's small and have an income stream that was affected during the pandemic because there's no customers, there's no tourists. At least, you know, deal with them on a case-by-case basis to really understand their financial situations and try to make this kind of options for them, or offer this kind of options for them, so that they again be relieved from some of these financial burdens, and at the same time pay back their principals with, of course, some interest. That's not gonna necessarily gonna create so much loss to the bank. I think if we try to be a little bit creative in focusing on individual customers, to understand their financial situations, and try to offer any kind of options for them, I think that will certainly help a lot of people. And mentioning the HTLP program, I think there's a lot of room to improve that program. I think earlier we sort of like just create a criteria for people to be eligible for that, and that one criteria was for those who are displaced. I think that was the number one criteria, is to help those displaced people. And some of those displaced people are not necessarily poor. They had money, but you know, they are qualified to get these low interest loans because they were classified as displaced people. And so I think if we refocus our attention to reform that program, or we tweak the program so that it really just focusing on really low income people and people who are really in need of financing from the bank, I think that will really help.
I'd like to answer 2 points. And I agree that we look at our commercial customers, and we do look at them on an individual basis. So we don't kind of lump everyone together. It's some of our customers now have had 12 months interest free. So that, for some of our bigger loans, is a huge benefit to the customer. So we've already started doing that, because we know that when the economy starts to turn around, we don't want them to have too high a debt loading. So that's one thing. HDLP or a housing loan program, my preference would be to look at a brand new program rather than look at HDLP and because that was for a limited time, would be to look at a new program. My preference as far as the bank's preference as far as the 20 million is to try and not restrict funds as much as possible. Because when we have restricted funds, it limits us in being able to respond quickly. Of course, the two main things that Ndbp lends for, housing, 60% of our portfolio is housing. So any money we borrow is always going to go towards housing. And the other 40% goes to commercial, which is small businesses, some medium, and all businesses in Palau are sort of small to medium. So any money is always going to be directed in those two areas. It's just directing funds to where it's needed at the time it's needed. And this, one of the examples that we had was the Agri program, where the funds were for agriculture and aquaculture, and there was a need for the funds to be elsewhere, but we couldn't change the use of funds. So I'm always a bit hesitant about having too much in the way of restricted funding.
Thank you. We'll have Senator Tabulal.
Sorry, Chair. Harvey, I heard ako te Oman Sulang. Utang na kalorin ka na mo silve Happy Thanksgiving. Actually, Harvey, you mentioned something about housing and a new approach, not prefab. Those I've heard, we have some issues and they're not that good news about prefab. But what's the other option?
Pre-built. So we're looking at maybe bringing up some pre-constructed steel frame homes from various places, not the US because it's too expensive. So we're investigating pre-built, where the frame is already built, from maybe Australia, from New Zealand, from the Philippines, because that will reduce the cost, and steel will put up with erosion, salt, earthquakes, wind damage. So that's a better option, plus bringing up the cladding and everything with it. So we're hoping to be able to say, you know, how much would it cost if we imported 20 of these homes? Because one of the issues we have is, you know, a lot of these overseas exporters, they don't want to send one container with one house. So it's, and then working with the contractors on what their margin is over and above the cost of the actual pre-built home.
Okay. Can you please make a request on that line, and we really need to bring down the cost. If we continue to rely on waiting for the materials to get here and then get the price, that's, you know that the price will probably not come. But if you go that route, I think we can really bring down the price to where the price in our wallets and the same wavelength. And I think that's something that we need. I know it's not, the contractors may not be too happy about that because they will not make a lot of money. But I think to help the locals, I think that would be, and then you can put up some samples where we can visually see those things. It only takes maybe one or two of those things to be built and for us to see them and to really get it into the market, because I think the price tag and the quality, there are only two things in Palau, termites and rain. If you can build a house that will withstand termites and the rain, we'll live with those. Never mind the other things around, but termites and rain. Those are the two things that we really need. So I'm really pushing for that. If you can have some samples next year, you know, just a few ones. And we know we already have prefabs that we know the issues that we have. So if we can work a new design to address those, and I think the price tag will really move us forward on that line. So please, I'll be the first one to get one if you have one. Thank you.
I'm working with a developer here to price some out and see, because they're actually reasonably, steel frame homes are actually a reasonable cost. It's the contractor's price, the profit margin that they tend to put on that pushes the price up a lot.
Can you give us a price if you want off your head?
I can't at the moment because we're just in the start of looking for a supplier. At the moment, the price, the US dollar is so strong that if we're going into Australia or New Zealand, it's going to bring the price down from a US dollar perspective. The main concern is going to be the cost of shipping, because they're pretty easy to put up. You know, once you've got your concrete pad, they're reasonably easy to erect. It's just getting them here. So as soon as I have some information, I will definitely let you know.
Okay.
Because I think anything that we can do at the moment to bring the price of housing, cost of construction down, has got to be worthwhile. And if we can show a contractor that instead of building 3 concrete homes a year, you can build 10 steel frame homes, same quality, same, you know, slightly cheaper, and you're still going to make a profit out of them, maybe more profit, maybe slightly less profit, but it is profitable, then that's got to be good for Palau, and it's got to be good for the citizens of Palau.
Can we have like small business loans that have the same provisions as the agriculture and fishing loans? Small business loans that have the same interest rate as the agriculture loans and the fishing loans?
There's a small business loan at 6%, and then the agriculture loans go up from, I think, 5.5%, 6% up to 10%, depending on the amount that's being borrowed. We have the same already for small business. So we have 6% for small business and 10% for the larger loans. So there's small business, agriculture up to 25,000 is 20. Is it 15 or 20,000 is at 6%. The same for small business, and then 10% for our commercial loans after that.
Okay, so let me just state our concern. You want a 20 million that doesn't have any attachment. But we know the bank loans to the richest people who have the best balance sheets and best income on this island. We don't want this 20 million going to those people. That's our concern. We want to help the people who needs to be helped during this economic crisis. And that's why we are here looking at this resolution. So we want the bank to tell us how are we going to word this resolution so we can address the concern the Congress have.
Komsomil Henjira Senator Inabo, adang Mushel as further consideration or reaksor kami mula Inabo.
Akilis terngil wana tkolgi po momesengi.
Portfolio now is 60 home loan and 40 commercial loan. What about if we amend this resolution to that effect? So then, and you will pay, the government will take the obligation of the first-time homeowner, the 60 million home loan, and then you guys responsible for the repayment of the 40% of commercial loan. Siguro the suggestion.
Chair kamektli Arnold Toy, sel HTLP ran kotel 12 sel ul. Kada
Kamlut.
Oy, akmal ko TLP shell hotel 12 sel ul. Tial sene 15 million. Ke los rabang ka nigirel olbira kalulal take.
Kalos rabang, bakal kanya los rabang when you don't have to pay for this loan. Nani ability ka miul sibiul. Charge Apple Morocco. What's the loss of the bank and how much it is from the first 15?
Sir, first 15. Oh,
9 million, you're not going to pay that money back. What's your loss?
No, that was the original plan. Okay. The sell chance of sell 9 million on more grant, and them like mo kami.
The loan, and
Loan.
it was from the, what, hindi ka loss kami first 9 million for housing development program. Hindi ka loss.
Oh, itila correct lang.
Okay, so let's not be clear. Hindi ka loss. There's no loss for the bank for the first 9 million because you're not going to pay back that money. All right. So make that clear. So my suggestion now is this new 20 million. It came from the House at 20 million to be loaned to Palau on behalf of Ndbp, and you guys has the discretion to use it anywhere you want, right? There was no. Then the Senate put 50-50, 50 for housing, 50 for commercial. Now it came back because the House doesn't believe, or the House doesn't have a committee report accompanying this, telling us that the Senate, that this is the reason why we're reverting back to the original. But what I heard from some of the delegates is you guys didn't like the idea. Well, now you're telling us that you only need $5 million if you were given the chance, right? No, that's your statement. I'm not making it up. You said if Dugubai asked, Senator Inabo asked you, so how much do you need for housing? And I believe you said at least 5 million because you don't want to get this whole million at this 20 million when in fact the rates are high. So my question is, can we further look at the amendment to this resolution based on your portfolio? Because you had just mentioned that your portfolio now at the bank is 60% housing and 40% commercial. So we'll approve the loan and then put it 60% is the obligation of national government. That's 13 million of 20, right? Mubangil sell 15, el obligation ng government. Sell next sell 40%, which is 7 million out of 20. Amo obligation ng government. Will understand that, Ulungi?
No, I understand the suggestion. I may have misunderstood a question that was asked earlier, so if I could just correct a question. I thought the question was asked, if you were from the 20 million, how much do you think you need in the next 6 months, 6 to 12 months? And looking at the way the economy is at the moment and the number of loan applications that we're getting, my answer was 5 million. It wasn't 5 million in total. It could be 5 million this year, 5 million next year, and so on.
Understood. So you corrected that.
Yep.
So let's say, go back to my point. We'll be okay with you if we make this resolution to be 60% will be payable back. 50% of 60% of 20 million will be paid back by the national government, just like the first 15. And that's 13 million. And then the 7 million is going to go to you for commercial loan, but you guys going to be responsible for paying that back.
It's an idea that we haven't, as a board, we hadn't thought about. So I would like to be able to say, I need to discuss this with the board before I could come back with a response to that. I know the main thing that from the bank's perspective is we were looking for unrestricted funding, of which a large proportion would go towards housing, and which, we can look at the HDLP program and come up with a new program. But we were looking, the idea if the government is going to take over the loan, whether it's 60%, 40% or whatever, if they take it over, that's fine with us.
Your position. So what's the current, how can the bank guarantee the National Congress and the people of Palau that you are going to maintain the interest low for the first-time homeowner? How are you, we're just going to take your word for it? Nothing in this resolution to emphasize, or what your suggestion in this resolution? You do have a lawyer, right? Can you contact your lawyer and then have the lawyer give us a language for this resolution to amendment to guarantee that you guys are going to put housing as the first priority, low income people? Because that's the whole idea of this hearing, is to help the poor people, the low wages people, the first time homeowner. And don't forget, we still have displaced people that still, and don't forget, Narada State just list out 16 lots or something. They're coming for you for loan pretty soon. And those people over there are low-income people. So my suggestion is, we did it the way we want. You kick it back. So now we entertain it again. Give us a recommendation. Because we need guaranteed. We need guaranteed. Now, before I close, I just want some information from you. What's the total annual budget of Ndbp, operation budget now?
Senator Naba, you've got the 21 report there.
Yeah.
How much?
Their revenue was 2.6 million. Their operating expenses was 1.1 million.
1.1. How much of that
They
one?
have non-operating expenses, that's loans, interest, and stuff like that. That's another $500,000.
So 1.7.
Yeah.
How much is that? Is payroll.
800,000.
So over 50% of it is payroll. What's the major expenses beside and that balance left?
Apart from payroll, it would be utilities, phone, power. We've trimmed our budget so tight that we're not spending anything unnecessary. So that would be utilities, loan payments, phone.
Okay. Good. Kudos for that, and I hope all the semi-autonomous agency follow your footsteps.
I
Thank you.
won't spend a cent that isn't justifiable. I've trimmed our budget back. We've not
Now,
travelled.
I'm going to give you my support, like Senator Tabalwal, on the idea of pre-built home. Pre-built home, is that the term? Pre-built home or whatever? Pre-built. I believe that's going to be a saving in there, because now if you build a concrete home and then the new tax reform takes effect in January, and I build my house out of concrete, and then I have to pay PGST for the cement, for the lumber, for nails, for paint, for everything. If you get that, maybe we just pay one PGST when the home arrive in the port. So that, if we can work it out, that's probably going to be a little saving or a big saving for the customer of Palau. And it's sort of go well with the PGST, just like the fuel, it's very better with the PGST. That's why I say fuel is another issue. But please, please let's look at that, because that's, you build a $60,000 home down, you just pay PGST instead of paying 2x4 and 2x2, and then if you order them with all the utilities, toilets and whatever, maybe that's much better. Okay, thank you, and kudos, and keep your payroll low. Sulang.
Sula, Senator Isal. Chairman, milat yak masable sa edal di keep pertial hearing di at the most within 2 hours. So kita tial na reach 2 hours. Inabon diya ako last question na kal some the raising niya ako kung sima.
No, so I think we requested two things: how to continue the housing program, give us, provide to us information on how do we continue that program, and suggestion by Senator Isal, and maybe the government will add money to the HTLP program and provide a capital for that program. Second thing we want to do is the economic recovery, and the things that we said about maybe writing off some of the interest, and how give us an approach on that, and maybe suggest language that we can put into this resolution that will make those provisions possible, because our concern was for the 20 million to go to the already very businesses and people who already have resources and can show they can pay back. And of course, that's always the bank's first priority is to make money. So we wanted to be able to make sure the other people and the smaller businesses have opportunity to get back into business. So if you can provide us written things on those, then maybe we can relook at this resolution. We also would like to be able to just amend the joint resolution, the original resolution, and not have a new resolution that says we're throwing out the last resolution. I don't know, but just some of that will help us out with this. And we know you're not in a big hurry with the interest rate, so we'll wait for whatever your suggestions are. Atang Chairman. Sulang.
Sulang Senator Inabo. Chairman, kada marmaw labangul makti wok kriti agidal mo last question. The resolution was not originated from the Senate. It was originated from the House. Dia kamal, it's without clear justifications or legislative findings that's kind of give us an idea why we need this resolution or why this resolution come about. So my question is, did you have any discussion with the House or the executive branch regarding this particular loan request, or was it by your request that they initiated this resolution? Partra fact-finding kamamanda kas amal gukti
Hindi ako
merura.
nakakamil masatel resolution na ilang.
Okay. So last resolution, dulmesing it's the same resolution.
Till November 8, tingnan kalmasa. Till dated on November 8.
Did you have prior discussion with the House regarding this? Okay. We wanted to kind of understand the House's rationale beyond this resolution, because we haven't really had a consultation with them. or the executive branch regarding this. So if you listen to all the senators who have spoken in this hearing, a lot of them are concerned about the use of this loan money, whether it's going to be for the commercial lending of the bank or focused for a specific customer group in the bank, and you know the concern that has been brought up is really how to help those people who are not only struggling to make ends meet in their livelihood, but also trying to get some financing support from Ndbp, because most of them are not necessarily qualified to get loans or financing from the commercial institutions. So they're really looking up to the development bank for their financing need, and if we can use some of this money to help those people. So I think you understand what the intent of the Senate is on this particular resolution, but we also need to know the background of the initiators or the originators of this resolution. So that's important that we understand each other on this.
So where did this 20 million come from?
My understanding was that the government had already arranged 20 million. It was for a completely different purpose, and we had gone out to the government saying that we needed more funding, and they said, well, we've got potentially 20 million that we can transfer over to you, and we then had conversation with Minister of Finance and President Whips around potentially the use of funds so that he could then talk to Taiwan. But I'm not, that's my understanding. It may not necessarily be 100% correct.
Okay, so Ndbp did not say, President Whips Jr. and Minister of Finance, we need 20 million for our loan program. You did not say that.
We had mentioned that we needed some further funding, yes.
But not 20 million.
Not at that stage.
Okay, that's my point. So it could be 15, it could be 10, it could be 30. Where did the 20 million come from? National Congress assumed that this was from National Development Bank with the President of the Republic. Loan. At the end of the day, you can just will justify at 20. Come justify need some more capital. Well, some more capital in how much? So if President said will give you 30, you'll be very happy compared to 20, right? So say that chair, jal 20 nargel may, ikadam nam isik terngay. Girel olbil tirtri lo ase malte lang alo spe igitian namot tibun madinga singrang alo spe Ndbp. So we need Ndbp to tell us how much. But please don't go over 100 million. Shulang.
Chair, ginawa mo meeting lang kala President, seral arrange tiang. Magin justify masi ngarasa mamlaw spe ring giral.
That's my point, Mr. Chairman. I need for more capital, but you did not agree on 20. You just clearly said that. Am I correct? You did not agree on $20 million with loan with the president. You agree on some capital and on capital to the bank.
We knew we were looking for funding. We knew approximately.
Yeah, but not 20 million. That's my point.
We knew approximately how much we needed to borrow.
But not 20 million.
And we can justify the 20 million.
But you did not tell that to the president.
Yes, Yes, we did tell that to the President.
20
When we had a
million?
meeting with the
20
President,
million?
we talked about the 20 million. Yes,
So you agreed on the 20 million
correct.
with the president,
Yes,
and that's why the resolution came from the House 20 million.
correct.
So you should have said that in the beginning. But your statement was, oh, well, we asked for some more capital. You know. Thank you.
Chairman, ako mlas ay kikita comment kora concern blal express sa member sa committee sa Senate ngultu sa gidal wal kora namo o blakatak kal understanding rigid nasing wal kora malamam Senate wal kora diri ka rawar ngul girel tial auspal tial loan tial financing la initiator nga presidente communicator nga house mata la initiator resolution mo authorize ring mang segi dia gimal mo mo consult tra presidente ma other house yung nasang alamal giramal mo oba official understanding raw era gim endorse ra OIT gidel lomleng ludaw del mo malsiablu belaw agi mo consult president executive branch ma other house and mutul mo ongil tirtria mo tagarti alone ma gel mo detail raw spallel ma gel guk mo teletelel o mol tauterni as institutional los PA fina additional capital or ruta program namin bolsep edel mo kawadingira oba official understanding bolsep ela olbira kalula endorse ra tialul tokoy hindi kita kora wadangal tatel hindi ka kadangal atam el interest rate man ngarba mang adi kal sep edel klase kada kadore tial resolution leng andi kada expected malara loan ra next week next month asa el anial mutul telal sandel aldo discuss ring lo banteri reklat usep edel mo consider ni seguida di boktali klutel mena asuli mal sumong kami tingay ngani gigidel ko radir gam teleo questionnaire behavior members el dakal nan necessarily associated metyang include interest ra adra blue tial program ra Ndbp. And so, ma'am, continue dialogue la bangela board management ra banga. El gire lagi gitu pebira toy. Magidi molingitra kalore nga kami bolsa al sabi el continue segi del dialogue. Ra maybe adi el alta el ngara da al sisro holiday maybe adi momre holiday kadal mutel el musiga te al drutel momit maybe on a more enclosed al setup para meeting ito salmal mo ngil mesa ay gigil al kakaroos al concern ma ka ontila senetel ilela Ndbp kluteral mereng asulem ka ma presidenta manga Claire, thank you very much for your time and Director Moses and Joseph Ilmem kada al ngania mo lubang ultingnya medik paskaula le bolsa edel mga sim.
Oy, kokman sularate alle. At the end of the day, directly concerned at Belaw Rokui. Madarul to go at the Kiriran at Belaw. Magi appreciated your time. Member of share, I will correct kakapos rather long let. Kokman sularate alle.
Ada ko man misaw let yal hearing adi more el ang kada mga sim. So thank you very much.